There's been a lot of talk about Anduin OS recently. It's been said that the OS reminds people of Windows. Besides, developers seem to be the target audience for the Linux-based system. Nevertheless, we decided to give it a try and see if Anduin OS might be an entry point into the world of Linux for casual users. Welcome to our new video and stay tuned. We gave Anduin OS the same conditions as with many other Linux-based operating systems we have tried on this channel. So, we fired up the Anduin OS ISO in a virtual environment. And everything works fine. The influence of Ubuntu is visible from the very beginning, as you can see here with the hallmark Ubuntu spinning circle between Anduin's own branding items. The installer is Ubiquity, the old Ubuntu application. It means the installation procedure was smooth and flawless. In about 10 minutes, Anduin OS was installed. At first sight, Anduin OS looks like a KDE Plasma Linux distribution. But it features the GNOME desktop environment, as you'll see during the video. And Windows 11 users would instantly find it familiar. It offers usual suspects in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, such as calendar, volume, and many other system controls. The Windows 11-like taskbar also features pinned apps in the middle of the dock. The file manager also looks very familiar. The same is true for the Start menu, which is nearly an exact copy of the similar functionality in Windows 11. It also sports several useful quick links like Power Off or Settings. So, the About section of the Settings app reads that Anduin OS features GNOME version 42.9, far from being the latest one at the time of recording the video. However, the system looks very smooth and polished. And in the lower left-hand side of the screen, you'll find the weather forecast widget. Nice. In modern GNOME, the desktop is usually not active by default, but in Anduin OS, it offers usual stuff like creating new folders, new documents, arranging icons, and so on. Now let's see what applications are installed by default. The Start menu app features the All Apps section as its Windows 11 counterpart. The first thing we saw was the App Store. And it's a surprise actually. There is no App Store. In fact, it works in a browser window, and it involves the use of the command line. So, for instance, if you want to install a web browser, such as Chromium, you can, of course. However, you need to dip your toes into the terminal. There's no graphical way of installing apps by default. And not only that, you must be prepared to deal with issues. Like if you decide to install a proprietary web browser, in this case Edge, the app won't upgrade automatically. You'll have to manually rerun the commands every time a new version of the browser comes out. Going back to the Start menu, you'll notice many apps that usually go into the Accessories, Administration, and Preferences sections. The set of apps includes GDebi, the graphical application for installing the apps whose installation files users download from the internet. An Office suite is not pre-installed. That's another thing you would have to do manually if you decide to run Anduin OS on your machine. Another thing of note is that there is no graphical way of updating the system. Again, you'll have to go to the browser window that acts like the App Store. You guessed it, to update your Anduin OS, you'll have to enter the familiar commands for Debian-based systems in the command line. Let's check out how the installation of apps works in Anduin OS. to install the LibreOffice suite, we'll copy the necessary commands from the browser window. Then we'll paste the commands into the terminal. You'll need to provide your administrative password, and that's it. A couple of minutes later, the Office suite was installed. The app starts quickly and flawlessly. It's an earlier version of the Office suite, but it seems to work well and fast. Now let's deal with updates. We'll open a terminal window and provide a basic Debian command for updating the system. It reads that there are things to upgrade, so we will instruct the package manager to do so. After it's finished, we'll make sure there are no leftovers, and we will tell the package manager to auto-remove and auto-clean itself. It's worth noting that additional software platforms like Flatpak or Snap are not installed by default. So if you need them, you'll need to install them manually too. The AnduinOS software package base seems to be closely associated with Ubuntu Jellyfish 22.04 long-term support, meaning an older version of the popular Linux-based operating system. While playing around with AnduinOS and opening and closing applications, the OS still used 1.6 GB of memory, which is quite acceptable for a Linux-based system featuring the GNOME desktop environment. All in all, AnduinOS has proved to be a stable and polished operating system. Windows users converting to Linux might find it familiar from the start. At first sight, it looks like Zorin OS, a highly polished GNOME-based computing experience. However, while Zorin is targeted at newcomers, more precisely casual computer users, AnduinOS apparently has a different kind of audience in mind. It's more geared toward the experienced users who are not afraid of using the command line. Which means that we would not recommend AnduinOS to new Linux users who are not computer savvy. Not at the moment. If you found the video useful, please share it, give us a like, and subscribe to our channel, and thus help make more videos like this one. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.